so much for that client and think about stuff they're not going to think about. Educate them on things they don't even care to ask about. And frankly, protect them from things they don't even know to be afraid of.
Welcome to another episode of Outside the Box. My name's Justin Armbruster, full-time realtor. My co-host, Sean Leary with BizBox, account executive. Sean, who do we have today?
Yeah, we've got Beth McGeorge. We were super excited to have her. She is a realtor in Jefferson City, Missouri. Her team and her have done over 2,000 transactions in her career. So RE/MAX Rookie of the Year, Torchbearer. She does it all. So we are excited to have her on. Beth, thanks for being here.
Love it. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, Beth, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into the real estate business?
Okay, so quick version is this. I worked very happily at a vet clinic. Loved the people I worked for, but y'all, I'm here because I do not like the smell of cat pee at 7 a.m. That was a pretty savage existence. I was 21 at the time, very young. I'd get up, I'd have to open. It was dark in the Midwest, in the winter hours, and there was just one day I came home and I said, I will do this job and work for minimum wage the rest of my life. And happily so. I loved the people. I loved what I did. But I knew I dropped out of college. I had very tragically lost my brother. And I knew that I would look back on my life and have this moment of like, Beth, you really, in that fork in the road, you chose wrong. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to at least try this career I had interest in. All my friends were in student loan debt up to their eyeballs, okay? So I was like, you know what? If I fall on my face, I'm in good company, And so I just tried it. And that I'm working on my 21st year in the business. So yeah, now I'm old. I have to dye my hair now. Shoot, that's very different.
21st year. Wow.
Yeah, so 21 years. So I started at the age of 21, so you can do the math on how old I am. But I literally came home that one day. Fun fact about a vet clinic, if you have a cat with a urinary tract infection, you leave them in their kennel overnight with a box of rocks. They go potty on that box of rocks, y'all. There's a reason litter is absorbent, okay? So they drain that off, they spin it, they look for crystals. So that's my former life, okay? So that smell hits you at the crack of dawn whenever I would go open up the shop. And so that day I went home, I was like, man, I'm not doing this anymore. Went to the Yellow Pages with a phone book, y'all. That's how long ago. Looked for real estate school, called them, booked my classes, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So, good for you.
I wanted to try my hand at having my own career, and I really thought it would be a temporary thing, and then I go do something else. But It was like a bug that bit me. I got Rookie of the Year for RE/MAX my first year in the business, which is the first and only time that's happened, in our brokerage here. And it's hard to do in a smaller market, as you guys know, the little guys, we don't have a lot of $1 million homes, so We're working hard for our supper. And it took off. And I think that was a God tap. Because I blinked and hit 08, was not successful in making money then. That was a challenging time. But like all things in life, that's when I got very good at my craft. I got very good at pricing, got real good at tough conversations and being really honest with clients in a time that, frankly, it felt like lives were at stake. People were losing their livelihood. They were losing their jobs. Their home was in negative equity sometimes, and that's a delicate thing to look at somebody and tell them their home is worth less than they owe.
Yep.
And then try to navigate the space of what happens next. So I was a pretty young agent learning that, and people knew really quickly they could trust me. They knew I put the work into it. They knew I cared a lot. And so I, like in life, I look back, I did not enjoy that season of my career, and I really did think about getting another job. But I kept leaning on the fact that I came in so strong and I'd helped so many families right away in a job that most people fail and leave pretty quickly.
Yep.
And so I clung to that and faith that I was real good at this. And I'm really glad I did, because on the other side of it, we started really dominating our market and just frankly helping a lot of people to a really high level, which is fun. So that's kind of the quick version of that. But it's wild.
Follow up. So you got in 04. You've been in it for 21 years. A lot of people are comparing last year's market, maybe even this year's market, to the 07, 08, as far as just units sold across America. Having gone through the 07, 08, I haven't personally as an agent. What are some things maybe you learned? You mentioned they were tough, but it made you better. What are some things that you learned during that time that helped you grow into the better markets?
Good question. So a lot of dialogue. I really learned how to speak to people kindly but directly about some really difficult things, and also confidence. I played a lot of sports. That was my resume before I got into any kind of professional. I went to college on a softball scholarship. Okay, so that was kind of like my first job.
Yeah.
Loved basketball, track, all that. So you apply that idea that you get through a hard, you do the work and you're better on the other end, but like sometimes it's sweaty and you don't look so good, right? It's tough. And so the equating to what I learned there, like I would tell people, they would say, well, Billy Bob, that other realtor down the street, he said he can sell my house for this. And I would respectfully reply with some version of, hey, if you hire Billy Bob and he says he can sell your house for this, I suspect he's just buying the listing,
Right.
and he's just telling you what you want to hear to get his sign in the yard. And then 2 weeks later, he's going to hit you with an aggressive price drop and act surprised by this market that I'm very directly explaining to you, right?
Yep.
And so I would tell people, no hard feelings. I know this is an awkward conversation to not hire me and move on. So what I say, if Billy Bob hits you 2 weeks in with a price reduction conversation, please don't give it to him and reward me for being willing to lose the listing by being honest with you right now. I believe in it that much. I'm willing to lose business over it. And if you do that in the right way, in a soft, gentle, like just very transparent way of like, hey, phone's still ringing, door's still open, I would love to have your business later. And I had this little tagline. I would say, well, if I can't be your first realtor, I know I can be your last, because people were hiring and firing realtors left, right, and sideways. And so for me, that was a really good time to learn how to have those conversations. I like humor. If people are laughing, they're learning.
Yep.
And so I know they're a little more ease with that. So I would tell them, and y'all, I got some phone calls that went like this. Hey, Billy Bob just hit me with a price reduction and I'm not having it. You're up, kid. And I would get in there and I just learned to be comfortable of like, I'll die on this hill right now than to get into it, let them down. I'm getting bad reviews. I'll just not get the listing. But I'll be very honest and sleep like a baby knowing I'm serving well even before I'm hired.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Well, I think it's so underrated because it's hard to practice without just experience. I often compare it to push-ups. How do you get better at push-ups? How do you get better at communicating and having difficult conversations? You do push-ups. You can't read about how to get better.
You don't think about doing push-ups. You don't tell other people to do push-ups. You don't hire out push-up doing.
Yep.
You do it.
And you can't read about it either. You just got to do them. No. That's how you get better at it. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm just kind of taking you back to your Rookie of the Year, Remax. Congrats on that.
Yeah.
You come out of the gates hot, and with the wealth and knowledge, what else do you attribute to that success? I mean, those opportunities. You're just a natural grinder, or kind of what else led you down that path?
That's a good question. So I think as a kid, love my parents, but my mom was a teen mom, okay? So I got the pleasure of going to a lot of different daycares, okay? I had to learn how to make friends real quick, and if Mrs. Smith gave the kids she liked an extra cookie, I learned to be charming real early, I think. And so I that's just my theory, okay? It's not been proven, but that's my theory. But I think I was networking before I knew what the word networking meant.
Yep.
I see the value in having this connected, community that, like, I've never really had to lean on them hard, but my mind is always around this, like, if I'm having a bad day and I need help, I need to know I've got 30 people I can call and say, hey, I'm broke down on the side of the road, and they happily come help me. Like, that's just sort of my natural energy. But I was like student council president. Like, again, you think of like your younger years, a lot of people maybe didn't thrive in school and then thrive in adulthood. I was a little kid that just had something to prove almost from birth, it felt like. And so I think I've just always networked. I always wanted to be the favorite in the room. I always wanted to be liked. And it's like the ultimate popularity contest. Like, I wake up unemployed every morning.
Yeah.
I have to be someone that people can trust. And I was that chick. If they needed it done, they were like, I'm calling Beth. She's going to get it done. When I left a room, I really think people were like, man, that chick's going to do it. Like, they believed me. I'm not shy. I'm extremely direct. I'll just say the words that need to be said. Most people won't do that. They'll dance around. If somebody's house smells like, they got 10 indoor cats and no litter box, it's my job to bring that up. I'm really hating on cats today, y'all. I love cats. Let me just pause. Okay, this is not I don't want the cat people writing me letters, okay? My mom just got a kitten. I'm obsessed, okay? I love it. But I have 4 cats, so let me pause. Don't send me hate mail. I love cats. But I have to have those conversations honestly but tactfully. I can't be like, yo, your house smells like cat pee, or I smell cigarette smoke or dog, but y'all know it's going to cost them money on selling their home.
Yep.
And most agents are happy to let that first showing be their feedback. And they're like, oh, cigarette smoke. I can't believe they didn't love that, right?
Yep.
Even smokers don't want that in their home, you know? So I do think being able to do that with a little humor of like, you know what? I would be like, some people just can't take a joke. I love cats. I think this is great, you know? But, you know, you got to be able to be kind with people. And you know, I have 4 children. That's a lot, okay? It's a really cool thing to reassure people when they're nervous if their home is good enough or clean enough or ready for the realtor to come in. You know, they're like, let me spruce it up. I can honestly tell people like, hey, yo, I got 4 kids. My house is like a bomb went off many days, you know, like even right after I cleaned. Let me see it at real life. I want to come in early so that they don't spend money on investments that they're not going to recoup their dollars on just from what they saw on TV. Because like our Central Missouri market is very different than the gospel they're preaching on HGTV for like a Hawaii market, for example.
Yep.
So I really take pride in being that approachable person who they see as a friend and they're comfortable with me. But, you know, it's rare that people's homes are totally photo and perfectly ready for a showing. So that like trust to be in their life in the real way is a big deal for me.
Yeah, I think it's so underrated, and I don't think most agents aren't intentional about it, but humor is such a tool to use in sales. Yeah, I think more than anything because it breaks down barriers. You know, when you're having that difficult conversation about cat pee, or when you're having a conversation about commission and what you're going to charge and they're trying to haggle you. I use this line all the time. Someone will ask me, you know, what I charge. And I say, you know, hey, it's entirely negotiable. I charge 6%. That's what I'll tell them. And we offer 3 to a buyer's agent or whatnot. And, you know, if they hit me with, well, could so-and-so down the road will do it for 5%. And it's like, that's true.
You say there's a reason they do, right?
Absolutely. I say there's a reason they do. And then I go one step further and I say, actually, I have a realtor in my phone right now who'll do it for 4. Do you want to call them? You know, I can give it to you. Like you should. If that's what you're concerned about, you should call them. They'll do it for 4. I don't know, you know, how great they are, but you call them and you find out, you let me know. Yeah, but I charge 6.
You're like, I'm sure they have availability.
Yeah, exactly.
They are not that busy. We can call them right now.
Yeah.
I like one to add to your arsenal. I usually say, hey, look, you know, of course, you know, whatever you feel is appropriate for you, but what's the most important thing, you know? And I think about if it's just whoever's willing to waive the most commission, you know, I equate that to a heart surgeon. I'll say, look, if I need heart surgery, I kind of want the guy with a line out the door because he's real good, and not the one that's like, yo, I got time right now, let's go. And you're like, I don't know why you're, you know, so free to do that. And then also, I always say, if someone is that bad at negotiating their professional fee to earn a living, how good at negotiating your money are they going to be? And they sound a little desperate, and it sounds like in negotiations, they're not willing to hold the line with you with any strength whatsoever.
Yep.
You know, and it's like the cheapest bidder, you're going to get what you pay for sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got over 2,000 transactions closed in your career, which is impressive. So you've gone to the table, you know, butt heads and made some, you know, something out of nothing a numerous amount of times. Kind of wondering what your daily habits were that kind of led you to that, maybe, or your non-negotiables too that kind of got you to 2,000 times. Being able to take care of somebody is really impressive.
That's actually something I ask myself a lot because I do run a team. And I want to be this incredible leader and take all my knowledge and put it into their brains, right? And I've really come to the realization that I am not the most structured person you would see in terms of a technical sense where I'm real locked in and I read 15 minutes a day and all this. Like, I'm not that girl. I'm a little bit feral in terms of, like, if you looked at it from afar, but my non-negotiables are like, if you call me, you get a call or text back that day. Or if I'm real booked, you're going to get a super late night text or something of like, hey, it's too late probably for me to call you, but I got your message. Or I'll have my team reach out. Structure and systems is what I'm in the process of building more on top of. But like non-negotiables, be honest, even if it costs me the job. Be just really, I think, upbeat and positive with people. I'm keenly aware that we're in their lives, not always during a good reason.
Right.
My story is oddly tied to real estate. The day my brother passed away, which that's a story for a different show, frankly, but my mom, fresh off a divorce, she was headed to go look at a home. She was in a rental. Life was complicated for us. I had gone away to college. She was headed to go look at a house, came home and discovered my brother had passed away after school that day. And so she, ghosted a realtor, stood her up on a showing, because you obviously don't pause in that moment and go, hey,
Right.
I'm going to be late, right?
Yeah.
And some of that. And I think back, and that was a good realtor she was meeting, but I want the kind of relationship where I know their kids and I maybe understand the family dynamic, and I'm in a circle of trust where they can tell me, hey, Beth, I'm going through a rough divorce right now, and those kinds of things, to where I know my mom did not share that with her realtor.
Right.
Candidly, she bought a house a couple of years after that, and the house was settling, okay, and that realtor gave her warranty paperwork and said, hey, you got a warranty, you're good. Well, that agent didn't call and check that company had been out of business for over 5 years, and that warranty was essentially toilet paper that she had handed my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so the non-negotiable is you need to care so much on the other side of that paperwork for that client and think about stuff they're not going to think about. Educate them on things they don't even care to ask about, and frankly protect them from things they don't even know to be afraid of. And I always say I absorb the heart attack, because if some bad news comes, I'm gonna try to fix it before I tell them. I'm gonna tell them promptly, but I usually try to call and be like, hey, this happened, I made a few calls, it's handled, you need to know what's going on, but is good.
Yep.
And they're like, cool. And I've had a mini stroke all day, So it's hazard pay that we're working for some days. December was rough. They're not all rodeos, but some of those, y'all know, without a great realtor, we talk a lot about AI these days. There is no AI program or algorithm that can do 5 of the things I did December, and those were 5 key things that those transactions would not have closed.
Yep.
So, you know what I mean? So
That's hilarious. Yeah, I use that line a lot. It's almost like you looked into my morning. It's like, when I get bad news or I have a problem I need to solve, I never call the client and say, hey, we have bad news, I'm working on it. It's always, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to have a solution or a couple options when I call and deliver the bad news. Here's the bad news, but here's what we're going to do about it. It's okay.
Because what are you doing? You're just giving us both ulcers if you
Absolutely.
just go, hey, I'm going to make your day terrible too. Goodbye. Our job is to carry that for them a little. But then the part that sucks is when it is one of those you can't just fix, which you sound like somebody who can perform miracles as well. Once in a blue moon, you just got a can of worms you got to sit and eat together, you know? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. A buyer once out of a contract and it took 3 months to sell, and, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, you just have, that's one of those things. You just practice your dialogue. How can you deliver that bad news in a way that's constructive, but also, I don't want to say hopeful, but we're going to put it back on the market tomorrow. I'm going to redo the photos now that it's, spring or whatnot, and we're going to get things going. How can you be positive and uplifting and, deliver that in an effective way? That's something you can't read about how to do. You just got to practice.
No, and I think, again, you got to care about people. You got to care enough about what's happening to go in and take care of it. But I think, too, to answer your question a little bit, I'm a tough customer. If somebody promises me something and they don't give it to me on a beautiful plate, like a charcuterie board, right? Mm-hmm. I can serve you cheese and crackers, or I can serve you a charcuterie board, right?
Yep.
Same product, same stuff, different presentation. It's how it's packaged. We want to eat with our eyes, and that's in every sense of life, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Not to make this a layup about BizBox, but I do want to hear what your relationship was with the moving boxes. When did you see that moving was a pain point for your clients? What turned you on to, hey, let me be a superstar in this space before anybody else?
So I love, my background, before I was at the vet clinic, I'm dogging on cats and everything today, but I worked at a bed and breakfast. That's where my in-laws owned it. That's where I met my husband. That's a cool story for another show. But, I was just very aware that the experience, how things go, stuff's going to come up, but it's like, how did I handle it? How did I react to that? But there is nothing cooler than being able to be like, I have a surprise that's going to arrive on your porch. So just making sure you're going to be home, because then one, you get a really cool little excited client on the other end of the phone, like, what's my surprise? And then they get it at a time where we've timed it to when it's go time and they need to start packing, and it's well timed and they've got it. And it's just the coolest way to love on our clients for that. And I had seen them or like ads and stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. And, you know, first time I looked at it, I didn't even look into pricing or anything, but I was like, that's cool. And I kind of filed it in my brain. But when Nick Bailey, we were at a RE/MAX event, and he had talked about how his realtor did it. And it was like his testimonial of just like how warm and just, you know, how great it made him feel inside. I was like, dang it, that's my nudge. I'm doing it. And that's when I started taking that on. But we don't do it every single time yet, but I kind of want to make that just part of our regular routine that every time. But I love that you guys have different packages too.
Yeah. Where would you say the majority of your business comes from? Do you have some buckets that you tend to get business from? Are you strictly, you know, repeat and referral? What does your spread look like?
Mostly.
Before we dive into that, the Outside the Box podcast is all about building repeat and referral business, because smart realtors know that serving their clients is the secret sauce.
At BizBox, we think your marketing should serve your clients too. BizBox branded moving boxes are the ultimate blend of service and promotion, printed on two sides, loaded with essential supplies, and delivered straight to your clients. BizBoxes are lasting branding that keeps you top of mind long after the move is done.
BizBox fits every budget too, with packages starting at just 5 boxes and free design setup. Visit bizboxinc.com, click free setup, and create memorable marketing in just minutes.
Stand out with BizBox while your competition gets tossed aside. Now, back to the show.
Repeat and referral, that number will vary honestly between 75 and 90% of our business. So pretty big numbers for repeat and referral, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud to say I don't buy leads at all. I can't with that, but I do. Again, this is like that childhood networking, just how I'm made. I kind of just would make friends with a brick wall, and it drives my family nuts because they will just leave me in Sam's Club or at a restaurant. They know I'm talking. They just like walk away, and my husband texts me. He's like, I'm out front, you know, because they'll be social. My kids are more like me. My husband will tap out real quick. He's like, I'm over it. But they'll talk and bull crap. I can see that out of our kids, like just a stranger they're just making friends with. But I mean, the checkout counter, you know, random stuff on social media, like just a general bump in, people are like, I like her and I think she'll do a good job. Yeah. And I've done it so long. I then have that coupled with real strong brand awareness. I have a great reputation. I'm sure you can find people that aren't big fans of me. This market was hard with the bidding wars. Buyers who didn't get the offer, like there were times we would get 15 to 20 offers on properties during the peak of the pandemic. And I didn't realize this. I didn't expect it or anticipate it in any way. And I don't get caught off guard a lot, so this one really threw me. But I was no longer the most popular chick in America, because if I had 16 offers and I had to tell 15 realtors, I'm really sorry, but this incredible above asking offer that you've made most times is getting a no, they would just tell me what a fine young lady they thought I was in all 4-letter words, you know? And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. It was just a better offer. But my husband said, baby doll, you're going to have to get thicker skin if you're going to be the big dog, he said, because you're just not going to be popular. And there were buyer names that I knew just from different sellers I'd represented that they had, like, over the time, like, technically in their minds, had said no 5 different times.
Yeah.
Well, they can't even with me. So that's been a struggle because, you know, you kind of feel misunderstood. Yeah. But that was the tough part of a really great part of a market, because I'm like, we're getting bidding wars. I'm getting my sellers top dollar, just absolutely killing it for my clients who've hired me. But then I had other people's buyers mad at me, and I'm like, look, hire me and you can have the benefits of all this action, you know? But you don't get the FaceTime to tell them that. So I gotta quit caring what people think about me in some ways, but it's you got to be able to connect very quickly with people. Yep. I've been through some stuff in my life. Was not raised wealthy. I kind of can do both worlds. I've achieved every dream I ever accomplished or wanted to accomplish in this business, and then some, honestly, and then some. This has been really much wilder than I ever thought possible. I'm very grateful, but I'm still just like playing in creeks and just hiking with my kids and playing in the backyard looking for 4-leaf clovers. Like, I'm just so chill. But I can hang with like people that are big business. I do that now, but to my own shock and awe. Like, wow, look at you, Beth. So I think I can appeal to a lot of different people.
So when was it in your career that you decided to start leading a team at that point that you thought, hey, I'm doing well. Let me start leading a team. I think I can, display leadership qualities.
Actually, it was a little different. So our second son, Jack, he was a very tough baby. And he was terrorizing his grandmother because I was by myself and I would be out on a Sunday going, I'm just going to show 2 homes. Well, that would turn into, they want mom and dad to come look. And then that turned into they're writing an offer. So I was gone for hours. And there was one day I had laid Jack down for a nap. He was very snuggled in his crib. He was a big, tough baby. And I came back a few hours later and my mother-in-law is on the other side of the door, like, trauma eyes. I'm like, and he's screaming. I'm like, what's up? She's like, he will not let me pick him up. He was a very big baby. He was tough. And she's like, he won't let me pick him up. He's throwing himself down. He's lost his mind because he wants you, and you were here when he laid down, and you're not here now. And it was, I'm a killer realtor. Like, try to find somebody that's more all in than me, but I'm even a harder, like, higher level mom. And so that was non-negotiable for me. And so I needed help. So I hired a buyer's agent to help with the evening weekend showings and all. And I literally just thought I was going to cut my pay in about half, right? Be home more, just balance and whatever. And it just took off. And I had no idea how much business I was losing by being so busy like that and just always looking at the task and not future business and working listings and doing the stuff I dreamt of to, like, do marketing that's creative. You need time to do those things. And so that made me level up totally by accident, but it was because Jack was a tough baby to babysit. Yeah. And I wasn't even going to be able to hire that out. So I was like, I just saw the writing on the wall. But that was, I think 2012. So 2013 is when I started a team. But it was by accident, and I don't think I'm the best leader. I'm really not. I'm a good example, but it is hard. It's a different skill.
How many people are on your team now?
So I have 3 full-time staff that are phenomenal. They're amazing. We probably need about 1 more with the volume. We close around 200 homes a year. And I've got 2 wonderful buyer's agents, awesome dudes. We probably need 1 more if this spring turns into what I think it is. So we'll see, but that's big business for something that a girl just tried to get home with her kids more. So it's a lot to manage. Everybody on the team is really amazing. So I couldn't do it without them, but I'm a control freak. So they're all wonderful for letting me, like, attempt to lead, but they're really running the show. Let's be real.
You mentioned earlier about how, you could make friends with a stranger. You're talking to the cashiers, the checkout. I had a funny story. I was going out to dinner with my wife, and I need glasses if I'm trying to see far away. Don't need them when I'm up close. And we were going out to eat, and I was walking into the restaurant, and I realized I don't have my glasses. And my wife was like, it's just us. Like, you don't need them. And in my mind, I immediately said, it's like, well, I have to scan the restaurant to see who I know here because I'm going to know 3 people. That's just what happens when you're in a small enough city. You go out to eat, you're going to, I know them, and them. And I got to make sure I can recognize them. And that way we're not making eye contact. And I'm like, I don't know who that is.
You're squinting hardcore, yeah.
So that reminded me of that is, there's always a network opportunity, especially in a small town, 50,000. It's always a change. You're going to run into somebody, and taking advantage of that and being intentional to, say hi, catch up, how are you doing is powerful. Yeah. It's marketing within itself.
And you have to. And I think I'm just an extrovert. Like, I am energized by people. An introvert, my husband, he can go to a party and be social, but he's drained when he comes home. Like, I can have an exhausted day, like, where I've just run the limit of what I'm capable of and come home totally wound up because I'm like, I talked to this person and I did this, and it just, like, I get that energy from people. So I love it. I think it's like how I'm just live. Yeah.
If you had to start over today, fresh out the gate, or what advice would you give to a new agent? What are some things that you would get going and do right away?
If you're not willing to do whatever it takes, get another job. And like, no one cares about your feelings. Nobody cares about it being late, but you got to think like a consumer. Like, if they message us, and then you can set business parameters. Like, I don't think I have to send an immediate text response back after a certain hour in the evening, but I think you got to communicate that to your clients. But just be willing to do more than anybody else. I mean, when it comes in marketing, like, I zig when others zag. I've always had a slightly askew version of some kind of marketing. I'm always willing to, like, I did professional photos real early. We did coming soon before anybody did it. We wrote escalation clauses, and I had to explain to them what it was. Like, I want to be pioneering, and I adjust very quickly with the market. Most agents are going to do what works forever and ever. I will turn on a dime tomorrow if what I'm doing today doesn't work any longer.
Yep.
But I think so. Be able to change, be able to love people through them being total jerks to you sometimes, because sometimes we're the whipping post through some really stressful stuff, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. But I know I've chewed on somebody that I've had to yell representative too many times, and I'm kind of crabby. And then by the time you get a human, you take all that fury out on them. I'm just super aware, and I had a really mean basketball coach growing up. I knew he was yelling at number 43, not Beth. And so 43 was a good shooter, and that girl had too many fouls, and he was mad at her, right? And he was yelling. I knew how to, like, make that a business thing, not a me thing, right?
Yep.
So, like, that whole nobody cares about your feelings. It's a little of that, you know, like, take that to work. But the people I see really successful in real estate, they have just a grit to them that I think a normal mortal cannot keep up with. I think we're pretty hard on ourselves. I think it's a job that from the outside gets a lot of flack, where, you know, we have attorney jokes, we have, you know, realtor jokes, car salesman jokes, all that. But if you say, who's your attorney? Who's your car salesman contact? Who's your realtor? They have good things to say. So that's that 80-20. I think 80% of our industry probably should get another job, you know, sounds like, based on the numbers. And the 20% of us that are committed, there's not any better human being on earth probably. And we're kind of in a position to rule the world if we had to. Like, these are just people that get stuff done and would be successful in any career they do, I think. I want my kids to do real estate for a little bit just for the business experience, because, you know, you don't know what the answers are, but you got to find out, you know. That's what we do all day, every day, is figure it out.
Yep. Are you a big reader at all? Have you read?
Not really. Actually, I can quote like Tommy Boy. I can quote every song lyric from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Like, I can rock that. I could probably beat anybody on planet Earth that named that tune, as long as I can pick the decade. But yeah, books. Nah. I'm going to chat GPT this summary. I'm going to listen to an audiobook while I'm on the go. That's all you're getting, dude. I'm tired. I don't know. And
no, I'm with you.
just
good
being honest.
book.
Nobody's that honest about it usually. They're like, yeah, I read. No, you don't.
You strike me as a very open book. You're not going to feed me fluff. You're going to tell me how it is.
Yeah. This is a definite Ask Me Anything episode. Yeah.
Well, then you're going to like this. One of my favorite books of all time. It's called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And I'll sum it up for you in a sentence. Consistency beats talent. If you're consistent, you don't give up, you continue to evolve, you pound the metal, you do what you do, you're going to be significantly more successful than someone who's just really good but is flaky, maybe quits, is going off on different ventures. And I think that summarizes you up really well.
It does. And here's the secret to that. And this is a funny thing, because I talk a lot about, like, I don't know why those women in the 60s burned their bras. You know, sounds like a really great thing to be home with my kids and chilling and whatever. And my husband looks at me. He's like, Beth, you are like the definitive chick for women's rights. Like, you do all the things you want to do, you know? But I'm like, man, I'm tired. You know, like, do I have to? You know? Yeah. And so he's like, you know, it's really fresh for you to say, like, almost like I hit a wall. Like, you got to be good to yourself. You got to pace yourself. I haven't done that. I honestly don't know that I'm finding in my adult life, I don't know that I have the ability to slow down. It's very hard for me to, like, sit still and just, like, watch a movie with the kids or whatever. And people can call it ADD or whatever, but I have this driving force in me that, like, if we're just outside talking, I'm probably pulling weeds out of the landscape bedding or whatever. And so I would say the flip of it, though, a lot of people in our industry, their mental health is not great. And I've honestly found the wall in my own personal life too, of, like, how much a human being can juggle and do and be accountable for every day without really kind of going a little bit mental in the pressure of that. So my advice to people too, if you're a hard driver, like I'm right now trying to figure out balance. Not my forte, man. I'm like overcorrect. I'm either all in or all out. Like, I can I'm in love with you or I can't even with you, right? So I'm working on that. And I think a lot of people that are very successful sometimes have that flip to the coin nobody talks about, that it's a heavy crown sometimes to be the girl who can do all the things, and nobody really cares when you're successful to hear a pity party. So you kind of get a real small circle. And those are things in my my older part of my career that I'm trying to figure out that I don't have all the answers to, but it's advice when people are newer, is keep your life locked in. I will never miss anything for my family and my kids, but I'm not a very good friend. Like
Sure.
They miss me and I miss a lot of lunch dates and stuff. So that balance is important. And I have not done a really great job of that.
I was thinking as you're talking back to your like early career, and were you an all league athlete, all state athlete? Makes me think that you probably like.
I started in track just to do more conditioning because I was like, I'm kind of fast at the like. We have to run sprints at basketball at the end. Like I was the girl. Like if you two were racing against me, I don't care if you're supposed to win. I'm gonna beat you or I'm gonna die trying.
Yeah.
And I did track, but our relay team, we went to state, and that was kind of by accident. I was all state in softball, all conference and district basketball, all that, but super competitive. Like if we were walking to the door, like in my mind, we're racing a little bit, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. You're kind of building a Remax Hall of Fame career going on right now. I don't know if you have any future aspirations, but it kind of seems like trajectory wise, you're on that go. So I don't know if you have any.
They totally dissed me, man. I put in to be a speaker or a panelist at R4, and I haven't heard anything back. So I don't know. I think I'm like the black sheep. They're like, she might cuss. It's because I quoted Tommy Boy one time on a speech. They have no sense of humor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So you get to get on your own airwaves too with your, you have a radio show that you got going on over in Jeff City. You want to tell us a little bit about that, how that kind of became and kind of what you got going on in there that people can plug into?
Yeah, so it's called Home with Beth. So if you're into, Central Missouri real estate, very good source for that. And try to give like homeowner tips. And again, same conversation I've been repeating, like good service to people even I haven't served, whatever. But my broker who, she's passed now, Sharon Keating, head commissioner for our real estate commission, she had a journalism degree, all that. She had the radio show for many, many years. And when she wanted to kind of retire and be done with that, she had asked me to do it. And I said, hey, look, I don't want to pay money to, I'm already busy. I don't need that. And I rebuffed her many times. And she unfortunately got very sick and passed away with cancer. And it was the day of her funeral. And the lady did not know it was her funeral, but she called and said, hey, this was Sharon's wish that I approach you. And as she put it, not taking no for an answer to have you do this show. Because she knew I liked radio. She thought I would be all right at it. And I couldn't say no when they called me that day. Like that felt like a God tap of like, hey girl, you're supposed to do this. Like who says no to that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So caught me at that moment. I said yes. I like that I do it. It's great. It kind of makes me know the stats, because I'm doing a weekly show.
Yep.
But it's kind of neat to have some guests in. We're talking a lot about fraud. You guys, the bad guys are digital and they're everywhere and they want all your money.
Everywhere.
And so we did a couple really great shows on that recently, but I really feel like it's a good soapbox to kind of preach from our vantage point. We're really intimately woven into people's lives and know tips for their future. Like, I don't know if you guys have septics in your market where
Yep.
you're more rural,
Yep.
right? I don't know what an engineered septic costs in your market, but they used to be 20 here. They're 40 to 50 now.
Yep.
And if you have a buyer who's like, well, I'm just going to waive this, it's the experience in being able to be like, hey, big dog, you can do you, but I just want you to know if you buy this and the market's not as hot as it is now and they're not waiving inspections, let's at least have a bid. Here's a ballpark. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
It's just flushing the toilet. And I'm like, I know, dude, but here's what this is. So I just think, caring enough about that process to tell people like specifically what to be worried about, like on a radio show. I hate going to their home and somebody up the chain didn't tell them that decades ago of like you've gone and it's 20 years they've lived there and you're like, cool, when's the last time you had your septic pumped? And they're like, never.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, lateral lines are full. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to tell them. You're like the county, strong arm policing this,
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's tough.
Well, do we want to switch to some rapid fire?
Yeah, we can. Well, I was thinking, just real quick before we jump in that, do you have a little bit of, on that fraud, just a little nugget or something like that, some of our listeners that could probably kind of run with, or a little bit of tidbit, some insider info?
Yeah, actually, and disclaimer, y'all, you're not going to sleep well at night. So anybody listening, if you aren't sleeping well, don't listen to this because this will not help your situation. Couple of things. So we coach our clients a lot on what to be afraid of a little bit, right? Because we all know you've gotten that email that's like, hey, I'm a Nigerian prince and you're one of the family members and we want to give you the treasure, right? We've all had that moment like, I knew it. I suspected it. Now I'm sure, So I had a closing I walked into, and the people that left the room from a different closing, they looked like they had just witnessed a death, right? And I saw that look on their face, and I asked the title rep, I said, hey, what just happened in there? And he was like, girl, let me tell you. I guess the buyer was a cash buyer. Bad guy had hacked his email, and they made it look like the title company and said, our policy is that, cash purchases are wired no later than 1 week prior to, because they know that's outside of the window that people are going to start coaching them. And in long story short, this dude had wired 200 grand to a bad guy. And he's sitting there talking at closing, and the title rep's like, hey, like everybody kind of hem-haws after they've signed, before they leave. And the title guy's like, hey, I do need your funds for closing, to the buyer. Like, hey, I know you're having a good time, but I need your check. And he was like, nah, I wired it last week. And that's when it was like, oh, dude. So I was very intrigued by like what happens next. So I followed up, and I'm like, is this dude ever going to get his money back? And he's like, no, probably not. And it was months later, but I think like 170 or 160 of it had hit a domestic account, and it seized, and he got that back. But he didn't buy that house that day. That seller didn't close that day. He really should have never seen a cent of that again. And all this was somebody had hacked his Gmail account or whatever, and sat and waited, and then they made it look really similar. Even the name of the email was copied pretty as closely as one could if you were looking. And so my thing with AI, it's going to quit sounding so bizarre, and it's going to sound like a real person, which is going to get people in trouble. And they talked the fraud show, and we have a 2 episode. I would go to Home with Beth and listen, but she talked about it. It never occurred to me, but it was the Apple ID thing. It says, hey, your Apple ID's been compromised. And so the person put all their login in there. And then what happened? Then they called and said, your phone's been hacked. There are inappropriate photos of children, and it's on your husband's account, and he's a member of the clergy, and that's going to look really bad, and blah, 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 and used fear of something like that never occurred to me, because I'm like, I wouldn't fall for that. And this lady who fell for it would fall in that category, but it was fear of, and they said, don't tell your husband, because once he knows it and whatever. And this lady, y'all, liquidated their 401k to get gold, and I'm talking 130 grand, and then withdrew 200,000 with the same purpose. And this is a lady who like ran a business. I would put her resume up against mine any day as far as being savvy, but it was that fear of like, all you need to be is accused of something in this world, and you're guilty. And so even if she knew he didn't have any wrongdoing, that she knew the accusation, what that would mean for their life, and she was afraid of it. And so that just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're using that. So I think if they use something against my kids, right. So you just can't trust any scenario, and you really have to be very just on top of like everything's going to come out. You can't trust anything anymore.
Oh, that's a horrible. And it's just, unfortunately, it's a reality, but that's also why we're here, to set expectations, to prepare for things that people aren't thinking about, and make sure we do our due diligence on guiding well. So
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, do we want to hit her with some rapid fire?
Yeah, let's hit her with a couple of rapid fire.
This hasn't been rapid fire? Oh, my Lord.
No way. We got some real rapid fire.
We're just getting going now.
All right, let's go.
That was the intro. Welcome to the intro. Now let's start the episode.
And now I'm going.
All right, rapid fire. Beth McGeorge, here we go. Well, I think you kind of answered it earlier. Book or audio book?
Audio book, 1,000%.
Yes. Office or home office?
Office. Yeah, I say it weird. Like, home would be nice, but I'm just not that girl. I would love it, though.
Zillow, Homes, Realtor.com, neither, somewhere else?
Neither.
Yeah, what's your drug of choice? Where do you send people to? The MLS?
BethMcGeorge.com.
Boom, there it is. Good answer.
Actually, talk to me. This stuff moves so fast, I wouldn't trust anything online. Like, I got stuff off market, like call a girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's one habit that you swear by?
I mean, I do swear a lot. No. I've been really off my routine, but the only way to live your life is some kind of activity. I've got to have fun, and I love music, but like pickleball or yoga or something. Like, if I'm not playing a game or something, I'm dying. So, activity. Yeah, fun.
Love that. Last one, spring or fall?
Oh, spring because of lilacs.
There you go.
Love that.
Beth, thank you so much for joining us. This has been super great. Appreciate your time.
You guys are wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.